It's my immense pleasure to be joined by Anastasiia Gavryliuk. Hopefully, I've got that correct. I do need lessons in my Ukrainian pronunciation, but hopefully, it's getting better. Some of you may have seen the live streams that we did with Rick The Ukrainian, and some may regularly see the incredible fundraisers that Anastasia is involved with. This conversation today is part of the series of Ukrainian Advent, where we're going to have much more personal conversations and where we're also going to talk about people's the most impactful work of Ukrainian, let's say, art, fiction, film, etc., in their lives that they want to share with the audience. And I'm delighted you can join us for one of these episodes.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. I'm pleased and honored.
And of course, it was a marvelous meeting. Let's start with your personal motivations because it's obvious to everyone that Ukraine is fighting for its life. You, your friends, your family are doing so as well. But it takes, I would say, a bit more to do what you're doing, which is continuously to be involved in fundraisers, to put your face out there in public, to join live streams, etc. So, what are your motivations for pushing back against Russian aggression and lies?
It's basically my love for my country and my wish to keep living here, keep working here, and honestly, also the fault, the feeling that I am not doing enough as long as I'm not joining the army. So I'm trying to do more than just working, keep paying taxes, keep donating to the army. And also, I have my cousins serving, and I'm trying to help them. Sometimes they need to get some equipment, and I'm helping with fundraising for that equipment. Yeah, it's just uh, the need to do whatever I can to help my country win as soon as possible.
And this is something that sort of struck me very forcefully. I was at an event, and there were a number of you, sort of Ukrainian friends there at the event. And actually, one of the speakers at the event, even though is normally very pro-Ukraine, said some really, I would say, insensitive things, things that were sort of borderline, propaganda narratives. And it just we it was upsetting. It was upsetting to see my Ukrainian friends just you can see them tensing up. So we decided to go to the pub and have some drinks, just to unwind afterwards because it had been quite a disappointing event. And that 5 minutes walk in between the venue and the pub, they managed to exchange laughter, tears, information about common friends and family who's missing, who's died, who's serving, who's about to serve, who's doing what. In that little compact 5 minutes, the exchange of so much personal information, trauma, and emotion hit me hard. And then we hit the pub and they'd done that, and then we started sort of talking about, politics, geopolitics stuff. But that kind of impressed me. Is that actually sort of representative of what a lot, the intensity of a lot of people's lives at this time?
Of course, obviously, especially since we, as people like me, trying to help our relatives who are serving, and most of the families in Ukraine do have their loved ones serving. So we both need to keep our economy going to fund our army, and we need to do more. And of course, we go through these nightly air raid alerts. It's not that Kyiv is actually being bombed every night, but the cities like Kharkiv and those closer to the front lines, they are being bombed more massively and basically every night. And we have these power cuts and all the stress. It is overwhelming. To be honest, I am trying to struggling to avoid a panic attack sometimes, when it's too much going on. But and you realize that you just have to persevere if you want to stay here, keep living here, and you find energy and inspiration in people around you. And I feel personally that I got closer with my family, my parents, and my friends because all of us staying here and enduring this all, experiencing this all, and And yeah, especially when you have those serving and being wounded, it is sometimes like feeling too much, but we just have to go through this. You know, as I keep saying, well, at least us civilians, we are not that brave. Those who are serving, especially those who volunteer to serve Ukraine, they are brave ones. But we here in Kyiv, for example, we're not brave. We're just very stubborn. You know,
That's it.
loving our country, standing up to the bully, showing that we have our identity that we are fighting for, and we value freedom, and freedom is our religion. You know, we used to have this huge banner on the house of trade unions on Maidan after it was set on fire during 2014 revolution by Russian government, Russian agents probably. And before it was renovated, there was this huge banner with the reading "Freedom is our religion," and I believe that that's actually one of the one of the variants of the national idea of Ukrainians.
I'm proud to say that this series of Ukrainian Advent interviews is supported by The Steel Porcupine, a unique and powerful film about a country that refuses to lie down, a people who turn themselves into a fortress of needles when Russian tanks rolled in. The Steel Porcupine is an unforgettable cinematic experience that exposes Russia's campaign of extermination in Ukraine and the Ukrainian people's spirit to resist and prevail. It follows soldiers, volunteers, and ordinary people who decided that survival meant resistance, not submission. Introduced by Nate Vance, a former US Marine who fought for 3 years in Ukraine's defense, this documentary moves from the Butcher massacre to genocide endorsing Russian state propaganda media. The Steel Porcupine is a love letter to Ukraine and a battle cry. It is free to watch and has already had a great impact on policymakers as well as activists. There is, of course, a link in the description of this video and in the comments as well. You can get to the website where you can see both the trailer and the film for free. Created by the makers of the acclaimed To the Zero Line, this is another film about humanity that clearly states there is no such thing as neutrality when war crimes are being committed systematically by Russia and on a scale in Europe only comparable to World War II. Set to a haunting soundtrack featuring music by Philip Glass and blending rare archival footage with original material. It is an impactful work of art and storytelling as well as being informative. I strongly recommend you watch it, but even the trailer itself is compelling.
I feel terrible about it because Ukraine is a very important country, and I feel a personal stake because I got them to agree to give up their nuclear weapons, and none of them believe that Russia would have pulled this stunt if Ukraine still had their weapons. And I believe Europe and the United States should continue to support Ukraine. There may come a time when the Ukrainian government believes that they can think of a peace agreement they could live with, but I don't think the rest of us should cut and run on them.
And it really, yes, you really start to sort of feel that. And we saw that in the sort of cardboard protests that happened this summer as well. One of the propaganda narratives, and of course I monitor not so much Instagram and so on, but I certainly monitor X and LinkedIn a lot. I know you're active on LinkedIn, and there are a lot of Russian voices, Russian aligned voices, and out and out propagandists. X, of course, is the absolute worst for those, but you'll get them on Facebook and all sorts of places as well. The one that perhaps annoys me most of all is where it's sort of where they imply that all the pain and suffering that Ukrainians are going through was somehow their choice. Somehow, well, you chose to do this, you chose to fight back, you chose allies like this who are going to let you down continuously. And by this, I mean your Western allies, and of course, now the US. That annoys me most of all because it seems that you have no choice, or the choice is between erasure and fighting, and neither are good, but one is far less good than the other, or one is far worse than the other option. Is that kind of how that feels to you as well?
It is. It's a false choice, actually. So, unless we want to surrender and give up our identities, like Ukrainians, like people who cherish freedom and actually need freedom to feel alive and be happy and prosper. Um, yeah, we might have agreed to become Russians as Russians want us to do, and avoid the war, like greet them with flowers and so on. But it's just an impossible choice. So I guess I was happy enough to, even though I was born in 1985, back in the time of the Soviet Union, I was happy enough to go to school in 1992. So on the second year of Ukraine's regained independence. And my school, I only, when I grew up, I realized how good my school was and how how great my teachers, most of them, not only of the Ukrainian language and literature, were, but all the others who were struggling, but tried to teach in Ukrainian and Ukrainian literature, history, courses. They helped me grow up as the patriot of my country. You know, I just can't imagine doing otherwise. Before the full-scale invasion, I had been trying to prepare myself for it because I had trusted what foreign intelligence services and Biden administration was telling us. Yeah, it was scary. Obviously, looking at those maps, you know, with all those arrows around Ukraine, like from three sides in invasion, which basically happened eventually. So, but I had decided that I would stay, whatever comes. It was very frightening, but thanks to, by the way, some people of Russian origin or those born in Russia but who fled Russia because they were persecuted there, they have some journalists, I mean, and bloggers. They have helped me to prepare morally for what was coming, and I've just decided that. Well, first of all, back in the day, we all like. Those who at least have been following the war and recognizing the war from 2014, we had the faith in our army. So I was quite sure that we would fight back quite well. Or rather, when Russia reinvades in 2022. But the first few days of the full-scale invasion were really scary. But well, my parents and I moved for a few months from Kyiv to central Ukraine, where my mom has in an ancestral village, like a cottage house and a field. We spent a few months there, and I was thinking that, okay, if we get killed by Russians, then maybe we'll be here in our family state. But okay, and then in a week, I became more confident that we would persevere. And then it's just, if you choose to stay here, you have to fight. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. Or you are either fighting or helping those who fight on the front lines.
That's it. Everyone's involved in some way, and it feels, doesn't it? The pictures you see of World War II, you know, many people in uniforms everywhere you go, and that becomes sort of normalized. Of course, even in the activist community, we can use phrases like, you know, Ukrainian resilience and bravery, etc. And sometimes I feel those phrases can be overused because they cover up some of the things that you're talking about here. They cover up extraordinary, you know, you can fight and you can still feel trauma at the same time. You can put on a brave face, but you can still feel inside there's a very different face that you're hiding from the world. And as you get to know Ukrainians, and they'll stand up at public events and they'll do that. And then you talk to them privately afterwards, and you realize that they find that incredibly tough, putting on that brave face,
Yeah.
being the rational, uh, being, I would say, emotional in a very targeted way, because I know often, especially Ukrainian professionals, especially women, are accused of being emotional, whereas that is a horrific insult. And Ukrainians are some of the most rational people that I've ever met, who are able to to talk in a very strategic fashion. But I think sometimes even activists don't realize just how difficult it is to sort of keep going under these circumstances.
It's true, and sometimes, yeah, we need to pretend like being tough and um, just cope with our emotions because, I like to, well, as if being emotional is a bad thing. It's being human, it's being humane, and
Empathetic.
it's
I mean, that's one of
empathy.
Russia's problems. People have little empathy, or the empathy has been driven or engineered out of that society. That's one of the primary problems there.
Yes, but also explaining these emotions, why we are feeling so hurt and having these emotional outbursts sometimes, because it's difficult to explain to people outside, even those foreigners who come here and help us on a regular basis, but who do not live here. It is very difficult to explain how hard it is to go through all of this. And we are extremely helpful to those coming here, bringing help and just trying to stay here for a while and experience what we are experiencing for all these years with us. But you just have to like give yourself a rest for I don't know, a few hours or a few days if you can, and then you need to like recharge and keep going because if not us, then who? Right.
It's if not you, then who? I think the Western support for Ukraine has demonstrated, unfortunately, very clearly that ultimately you're doing the fighting, and actually the majority of weapons that are being used and inflicting damage on the Russians are actually ones sourced by Ukrainians, and not necessarily even the government, but civic society. I think this is the other thing that's been really hitting me very hard recently, the realization that yes, you have a government that is broadly, it's got high visibility in the West. It's been able to secure certain funding. It's been able to do certain things. But actually, the true expertise and resilience of, some of the most effective brigades, that comes from the individuals within it and the civic society networks that they come from, and which in turn support them. I'm not sure that's really fully realized, even again amongst many who support Ukraine.
I think it's one wouldn't do without the other. So even mm, chairs of the biggest charity foundation supporting the army, they admit publicly then that, well, yes, volunteers and these huge charity organizations, they are so great. They are providing such huge help to the army um, for many years. But the government has in its coffers still much larger budgets they can deploy, and the volunteers and organizations, NGOs would never be able to uh, raise funds to such amounts. Even though, by the way, I've heard the recent news that the probably one of the oldest and the biggest charity foundations supporting the army, Come Back Alive, has received a huge donation. Yeah, like I think it was 19 billion hryvnias, which is roughly, I think, half $1 billion or something like that.
Oh, that's
So,
fantastic. Well, yeah.
and this is unprecedented, but they have gained trust throughout the years since 2014. I remember, I think they were established in May 2014 when the war uh, in Donbass broke out and when Russia invaded Crimea and invaded Ukraine in Crimea and Donbass, and they were starting to provide the army with thermal view cameras, I think, something like that. So starting with very small amounts and then expanding to this, I think, the biggest foundation here. And It's just they complement each other in terms of the one has bigger budgets and the other have more like agility and flexibility and probably expertise and skills. And not all Ukrainians want to join the government. Well, because because we have seen how people can be attacked and just um, lose their reputation, and well, there are various kinds of problems pertaining to that. So yeah, the
And
whole society.
everyone I've spoken to speaks highly of that particular charity. I haven't heard any negativity whatsoever. In fact, it seems to have, extraordinary respect from all quarters of society.
Yes, true, and it's I think it's good that they have also established offices in the US, the Comic Alive and the Rick Foundation as well. Can you see me? Oh,
Yes, I can see
sorry.
now that
Oh,
electricity's gone down. Well, that's
yeah.
all
So
part
as
of the
so
experience.
even a few minutes earlier than announced. So let
It
me
is.
just try and add another flashlight
That's okay.
right
Well,
here.
we'll not keep you in the dark for too long, but I think this gives people a flavor of what you have to deal with.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is our daily occurrence. So,
That's
But
that's it.
yeah, as I said, we just keep going. I'm not feeling like desperate or something about having to work and sometimes like cook uh, without having electricity at home. But yeah, they have announced that this winter probably will be our hardest one. And as one of my friends said, I hope it will be the hardest one, meaning that all the next ones will be not as hard as this one. Yeah, so
I think I do have the impression things are coming to a kind of a head, as it were, because Ukraine for the first time is able to strike back against Russian energy infrastructure in the way that it is striking Ukraine. So I would expect after the last couple of days and the incredibly intense raids on Kherson and Odessa, I would certainly expect the Ukrainian government to strike back and show Russia that the lights can go out. In fact, that's been happening.
mhm.
I think in Voronezh and various other cities, there's been test runs of taking out the energy infrastructure. One would assume. I don't have any specific information. One would assume those are test runs for shutting Moscow down, and that's of course that's something we'd all like to see, the lights going out across Moscow.
Exactly. Moscow is key. Moscow is crucial, and Muscovites, meaning people living in Moscow and having those politicians and Putin's team, they just don't care what people have to endure outside Moscow.
I do care
So
if they start to endure hardship, though. I mean, they are soft compared to the people in the provinces, of course, and
mhm.
it's a great privilege within that. If you get to Moscow and you make it in Moscow, you are literally putting your trotters in the trough, where the biggest trough in the country, where all the money and resources end up. So if they start having inconveniences in their lives, they'll start squealing, as we've seen several times already.
Yes, I'm not sure if we need to hope that Muscovites will like rise up and
Well, they won't rise up, no, but they'll complain.
because they don't have electricity at home or something,
Yeah.
or no heating at home. Um, yeah, but we'd be curious to see it, and it would just be justified to do this to them because they have been supporting this war. Like I know that there are good people probably still living in Russia, just hiding their position, but it's obviously less than like 1% of the population, so it doesn't make a difference, and all the rest are just complicit in all the war crimes and this illicit and brutal genocidal aggression against Ukraine. So,
Yes, as Nezvorov calls them, bidla. Oh, I won't translate that, but people who understand
yeah.
it will understand it. Um, let's turn because you're sitting in the dark there. So I don't want to keep you too long. Let's talk about the bit that this Advent series is featuring, and that is your personal either favorite or most impactful book film artist, so we can help introduce a greater depth of let's say, exploration of Ukrainian culture by the audience and certainly by myself as well. This is an exercise in education for me as much as the audience.
Yeah, so it's always difficult for me to pick or choose one when it comes to like anything, basically. So when it comes to books, I would, and if we talk about books or films or art works or artists uh, who can inform global audiences about Ukraine, right, and about war in Ukraine and the recent history, I would definitely recommend to read The Wild West of Eastern Europe by Pavlo Kazarin, a journalist who's originally from Crimea. This book was first published in Ukrainian and Russian, by the way, as well in 2021. I think I went halfway through it before the full-scale invasion, and then I just had to finish it like half a year later because we fled Kyiv from mom's village, and then we came back, and then I was so overwhelmed. And even now, I must confess that I just can't read books. I have been struggling to read Serhiy Plokhy's, by the way, another recommendation. Serhiy Plokhy's The Gates of Europe, the bestseller, I think, by him on Ukrainian, a brief like course of Ukrainian history. That would be another recommendation from my side. But because I've heard so much about this book and I have a general impression, understanding of what it is about, and I've listened to a lot of interviews by Serhiy Plokhy, a Ukrainian based in the US and working at the Harvard University Ukrainian Institute. But this book, The Wild West of Eastern Europe, Дикий Захід Східної Європи, it was, I think it wasn't like eye-opening for me because many insights provided in that book by Pavlo. And by the way, he fled Crimea in 2014 after Russia invaded and occupied and they annexed it. He fled to Kyiv, started working here. He's also a TV presenter. He used to do a lot of work in journalism. And in that book, he explained how Ukraine tried to actually sever the ties with the Russian Empire, starting from 2014, and about his personal evolution from this post-Soviet person and citizen of Ukraine into a Ukrainian patriot, and this internal kind of development. And so yeah, and I think one of the most striking thoughts and paragraphs of that book that stuck in my head is when he explains how comparing Ukraine to one's child. So and he explains that, for example, when you see other children in some social, I don't know, at social events, and you think that they behave nicer or they are better, smarter, prettier, or something, and you always tend to think that oh, those kids are like maybe better than mine. But first of all, you don't know everything about them, and second of all, you have your child that you must love. It is yours, and you only have them. And it's like with Ukraine, yes, it's imperfect. Yes, there's just so much work to do to develop it, to improve and work on. But it's ours, and it's the only Ukraine that we have, and we need to love it. And if we want it to be better, we need to work on it and give ourselves, to improve it. But also, I would really recommend to those who would like to understand more about how Russia become what it is right now, and how the US, by the way, has slid into this state that I will diplomatically probably avoid naming. And it all started way before this presidential term of Trump. So this book is The Road to Unfreedom, Russia, America, and Ukraine, I think the full title is, by Timothy Snyder, American historian specializing on Ukrainian studies, actually. This book came out in 2018, and basically it predicted most of what has been happening later on. So that was back in the days of the first Trump administration, and it explains how the U.S. has gradually becoming more similar to Russia in terms of becoming less democratic, less free society, and so on. So yeah, and I appreciate Timothy Snyder's work in general. So other books are recommended as well, and also a couple of other books. I really liked Winter is Coming by Garry Kasparov, which came out in 2015, and I think recently he admitted that he might have given. So The Winter is Coming explains that the world was actually heading into some dark place because of what was happening in Russia, and that Russian society didn't learn the lessons of the history, like processing all the guilt they should have felt after starting World War II, and so on. And the whole breakup of the Soviet Union was such a painful event and situation for the Russian society, and the attitude of Russians towards Ukraine, and why the invasion of 2014 happened. So yeah, it's highly recommended. And also for Europeans and Americans and other foreigners, I would really like to recommend this a very hard reading. I must admit, Red Famine, Stalin's War on Ukraine by Anne Applebaum, out in 2017. First time, about the genocide perpetrated by Stalin's regime against Ukrainians, most of whom were peasants at the time, and during 1932 and 1933, we've lost roughly 4 million people because of forced starvation, and all the other limitations introduced by the Stalin government in Ukraine. Yeah, so I guess I'll move to the arts or artists. I'd actually I can't name one artwork, piece of art, but since I recently visited an exhibition of this famous Ukrainian artist of early 20th century, and this exhibition is still open here in Kyiv in the National Art Museum of Ukraine. It's Alexander Murashko, and I really like his style. It's a kind of combination. I think I'm not an expert on art, but my impression is that it's a combination of impressionism and realism. And he used to focus on portraits, and I love portraits. Since my childhood, I was trying to draw people's faces, and so I really like how he did that in his work. And also because, this is a great example of a Ukrainian who was also a European, and he was so talented that even though he went from Ukraine to St. Petersburg to study at the Art Academy there, he got funding for a few trips to study in Europe. And he also participated in a few exhibitions, these salons in Paris, and his works were shown there. But he was killed under unclear circumstances in 1919 here in Kyiv, as as many prominent and talented Ukrainians were, unfortunately, during those years when Ukraine tried to first fight for its independence in 1917 to 21, and later on as well. So yeah, I really love his works, and recommend people who live in Kyiv or who will be visiting Kyiv to visit this exhibition. It will last until the end of January at the National Arts Museum, and there are also his works because we are celebrating this year the 150th anniversary since he was born. There are quite a few events dedicated to him, and there is also an exhibition in Kyiv Art Gallery. So also recommend.
Fantastic. Yes, I'm just looking at some of those pictures as we talk. And they're incredibly vivid, aren't they? I mean, one that stands out is Washerwoman, is a particularly vibrant one, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of fabulous ones there.
The most famous one is A Girl in Red Hat. It's like all over the place. If you type in
Mhm.
Murashko, I guess his masterpiece. But I think I love even more some of his other works, including his self-portraits, by the way.
Yes, the Girl in the Red Hat. I can see why it's popular. There's something slightly something slightly complicated in her face, but the vivid red of the hat sort of stands out. But yeah, there's a luminous quality to some of his paintings there, and there's really something special. So that's brilliant. Is there a film? Now, this is interesting because I've done a few of these already, and people find it far more difficult, I think, to nominate films than they do books and even artists.
Uh, Actually, for me, it was the other way around. Because I've seen this documentary, which I think is a must see for everyone in the world, especially outside Ukraine. And I think you mentioned this one with another Ukrainian. So basically, this is 2,000 meters to Andriivka.
Mhm.
It's a documentary which has been nominated from Ukraine to Oscars this year. I think by Mstislav Chernov,
Chernov,
the
yeah.
author of. Hmm?
Mstislav Chernov, yeah, absolutely
Yeah, yeah.
extraordinary creative talent.
Extraordinary journalist and director uh, who is originally from Donbass, mm, or from Kharkiv. I'm sorry, I might confuse these things. But yeah, I think his family comes from the area around Andriivka.
They
This
absolutely, yes. I think
this
that's
village that the film is about. And to be honest, even though I also appreciated a lot and liked his previous film, which won Oscars for 2022, 20 Days in Mariupol, which I also recommend, I think because I had seen quite a lot of footage from that one before, right? When the full-scale invasion started, and Stislav and his colleagues were filming and sending these reports from Mariupol, and we've seen that on the news. And I think I had been just more like morally, psychologically prepared to watch that one, so it didn't have such a huge impact on me as this one. And here, this 2,000 meters to Andriivka, it just shows how huge of a price Ukraine pays to defend itself and to protect Europe and the whole free world. Uh, and all these interviews with servicemen sitting in the same trench as Mstislav and his team members. They are very touching and moving. And yeah, since it's been one of the last documentaries I've seen here in Kyiv, it had a huge impact on me, and it's definitely must see for everyone in the world to understand what was actually happening here in Ukraine. And it's just a small piece, of the whole picture. And I remember that during the premiere here in Kyiv, where Mr. Slav was answering Q&A session, he, one of the service members attending the premiere asked him, why didn't you show this area of the front, or that area? There was even worse situation in Krimki, for example, near Kherson. But the thing is, and Mr. Slav admitted that actually he did film there as well, but it's just so much footage, so much going on, and the front line is so long and so huge. It's just impossible to show it everything in one film. And he made this choice to focus on one particular place, just to be more like to make it more, detailed and granular, and I don't know, more easily relatable, I guess, showing the personal stories of people involved.
Films have to tell a story. They can't show all of reality. It has to be curated and it has to have focus. And I think that choosing a particular place that has resonance for him personally, that that's huge. I mean, that's very important to draw people into the story.
And also, I have two other films I would like to
Yes,
recommend.
fire away. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so the one that was a Ukrainian film that I think had the biggest impact on me, like so far in my life, out of all of them, is Tribe, Plemya by Miroslav Slaboshytsky. It's a very hard one to watch as well. Mm, It won a lot of prizes at various film festivals. It was premiered in 2014, and it's a social drama showing the dark sides of Ukrainian society, of this boarding school for children and teenagers with hearing impairments. And it was just so raw and so honest, and also the most striking thing for me, one of the most striking things for me when I attended the premiere was when, because the movie was without sound,
That's
those people
very
in the
unusual,
audience,
isn't it? Even
those people
silent
in,
films tend to have an orchestrated track to them to
yes,
be.
so no like overlaid music, not nothing. It's just you. Everything is happening in that boarding school, and among those teenagers who can't hear, so they use this gesture language. And I was struck by the feeling that with those people in the audience who had hearing impairments and who could understand the gesture language, so we kind of swapped roles with them, and I was put in a position of like being, so they were having this advantage of being able to understand more than me watching that film. And I remember, I think the slogan of the film was, um, "You don't need sound to love or to hate," something like that. So everything, like the main things, the main ideas, and what was happening is understandable without explanation or without you needing to learn the gesture language. But of course, some slight details and like what was exactly said by the characters in the film would be understand best by those people who would be gesture language. But yeah, it was very impactful, and I remember that some people in the audience just couldn't watch it until the end, and they just went out of the cinema. So it was
Too intense in some ways. Yeah.
it was indeed too intense. But on a more positive note now, I'd like to recommend a cartoon actually. I have been watching cartoons for quite a while, but this one And it's an old one. It was made back in 1982 uh, during the Soviet times. Yeah, I'm old enough to recommend such stuff, you know. And it's called Жив був пес originally, or Once Upon a Time There Was a Dog, or just a short version, Once Upon a Dog. It's a short cartoon. It's like I think 10 minutes, and it's based on a Ukrainian, um, I think, a fairy tale or like folk story, and it's also using Ukrainian folk music, which was I think Ukrainian folk songs have been recognized by UNESCO as a like World Heritage, and it just shows uh, this village life of Ukraine in such a, I don't know, it's a moving and funny way that I think it's a must see, and it's about friendship and helping each other out in difficult situations. So it's also educational, and it's I think it's good for both children and adults. And I still find it enjoyable. I've rewatched it again to be honest today because it's short and I have had the time to do it, and it's I just love it.
So is this
And
the one from
the
1982? Have I got the right one there?
yes,
It's still a
yes,
Soviet
yeah, yeah.
Gilles Pius.
Yes, but yes, it was originally done in Russian, I mean the
Yes.
audio. Then it was also dubbed in Ukrainian. There is also a version with English audio, but I wouldn't recommend that one. I would recommend a Ukrainian audio
Yeah.
with English stuff. I can send you the link.
Yes,
And it's
definitely. So I get the right one there. Yeah.
yeah, it's lovely. But it's so the author, Eduard Nazarov, he actually had done a great research preparing to make this cartoon. So he um, went on tour to Ukrainian villages, like seeing the village life and recording like stories and music. And he had access to some archives and also the songs, the Ukrainian folk songs performed and used in the cartoon. Uh, they were performed by one of these bands, like amateur bands from one of the Ukrainian villages, founded in 1958, but they are still active even now. Yeah. So
Fantastic.
uh,
Well, that's a new one. I'll definitely look that one up.
I couldn't help but recommend it, you know, because I love it.
That sounds like a good one for Christmas. I think people should save that up and watch that on Christmas Day. It sounds like a bit of a treat, actually.
Yeah, maybe.
Brilliant. Well, that's lots and lots of stuff to follow up on, and we're getting quite a list together now. This is the third conversation, and we're nobody's been able to just nominate one thing, which is wonderful. Which means we're getting a really kind of big list together. And what we're going to do
Yeah.
is collate those, make sure they're published in the description of each video. But we're also going to then collate it into a special episode sometime after Christmas, and hopefully, get someone on the channel who is a sort of, cultural icon, as it were, from, Ukrainian, of course, to sort of go through the list and get their personal views on which ones were voted for as being the most impactful and popular. So I'm so glad you're able to, stick it out in the dark here, to share that list with us. It's fantastic.
Yeah, sure. I'll be very interested to see that final, summing up of all the suggestions and this analysis and comments by the expert. And
It'll be great.
also,
Yeah,
yes, if I may, I would like to mention the some of the efforts I'm doing in terms of activism and
absolutely.
supporting.
We'll put those links and description of those in the description of the video too. But yeah, what are you involved in? What's the most important thing in your fundraising activity at the moment?
Yeah, so I have been involved with the 50 States for Ukraine initiative, which was launched by two Americans this summer. and they have managed to raise almost $170,000 to buy 16 trucks, which have already been delivered to the front lines in Ukraine, to the various brigades. And the goal is to raise funds eventually to buy 1,000 trucks, which means that each state would provide 20 trucks. So far, I think 23 states, 22 states and one territory have established their so-called battalions. That is, there is a dedicated team of Americans and so-called captain who lead the fundraising. Since I met the founders of the initiative here in Kyiv, and we just attended events in support of the POWs, and thanks to also participating in streams by Rick the Ukrainian volunteer, whom we both know. So I've been trying to gradually try and do more in terms of sharing information about the initiative, and also to help them raffle various items like flags of various brigades who either already received trucks provided by the initiative or need ones, and would like to help and speed up the fundraisers. And so I'm I have this semi-official role of the ambassador of the initiative, and the kind of a patch model, because each state, when the campaign for the state battalion is launched, they develop these special collectible patches for the states, and then people like me who want to help promote the campaign of a particular state, they can make this content for social media to raise awareness and spread information, and ask people to donate, because we are Ukraine, especially if it's Ukrainians who are here on the ground or who are active abroad, helping to raise funds for the Ukrainian army. Then it actually helps to draw attention and show that this is really important, and these vehicles save lives. So for those Americans willing to help, you can either join the existing state battalion of your state, or if there is no state campaign for your state already launched, then you can, and you are willing and have the time and resources to dedicate yourself to this, you can start your own state battalion campaign, or just join the existing ones. For others, so you can help promote the campaigns on social media. You can ask your friends and family and colleagues to donate, and you can do it yourself, obviously, participate in the raffles and so on. So each small bit helps. So please get involved. There is information on the official website of the 50 States for Ukraine initiative. There's also a separate page for the initiative on the Car for Ukraine volunteering initiative website. So
that's going well, actually, that one. We've got the Christmas tree trucks campaign. There'll be a link to that in the description as well, because everyone knows that we're part of that. And actually, I mean, for me, this has been one of the fastest campaigns that I've been involved with for Car for Ukraine in terms of getting it to total. It's already almost halfway to its total, and it only seems like it only just launched, really. And certainly for Silicon Curtain, this has been the fastest fundraiser that we've done on the channel. Maybe because we've tried a slightly different format, which is maybe more effective, or it's that people really are, I would hope, outraged by what the US is doing in its betrayal of Ukraine, and that is motivating people to give more and help more. At least that's my optimistic way of looking at it.
It's probably the case, and also those people who have already been involved, or had been even before Trump came into office, they feel ashamed and embarrassed and feel guilty not doing more, and they try to do more and more every time. And I can see that. So this is my second raffle I'm launching before Christmas, and I can see that those people who had been donating and supporting before, they do it again. So it's usually this bunch of most active ones, but it would of course help to expand the audience, and even there's no such thing as a small donation, and the more people we can get involved, the better, obviously,
Absolutely.
because these trucks are among the most needed equipment on the front line, and each one can save 20, 30, or even more lives. So they get destroyed, but they do their job by saving lives of
That's
our
it.
services, and that's the most important thing.
I think that's exactly it, and that really brought it home to my audience at least because we showed a picture of the truck that they had helped to crowdsource just a few months ago, and then there's a picture of it destroyed, but the three servicemen who were riding in it all survived with only minor cuts and concussion, and that's the key thing. They're there to sort of fight again almost immediately. Yeah, incredibly important.
Yes, true.
Well,
And I was going just to say that it's so great to see that you, Jonathan, and other people, foreigners, launch these campaigns on various platforms. It's heartwarming, and thank you so much for doing this. I think this is our common cause, and we need to try and do as much as possible. And it's great to see how various activists and fundraisers, bloggers, and so on support each other, because it doesn't really matter whose campaign closes like sooner or something, right? Because we are working towards our common goal.
it is. There's some healthy competition behind it all as well, So, yes, we get the trucks, but with the individual channels, it kind of helps to drive donations if create a little bit of competition behind the scenes as well. Who's going to get there first? Who's going to? And I saw, Rick's very good at doing that as well. Let's reach this target. Let's up the target. Let's keep it moving. Yeah, absolutely expert at getting the energy into the donations there. Well, we'll do
True.
more of these, and we'll do more of the fundraisers and more of the streams as well. But Anastasia, I know it won't be a peaceful holiday, but I'll wish you a peaceful holiday nonetheless, and express the extreme gratitude I have for what everybody in Ukraine is doing, as you say, to be the shield, the sword, the armor of Europe, whether everyone in Europe is aware of that or not.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. It's been a huge pleasure. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this, and we can win only together, supporting each other, helping Ukraine. Could not do without our foreign friends and partners. Thank you so much being with us and helping us. Huge
Slava
pleasure.
Ukraini.
And
Slava Ukraini,
Heroям
of course,
слава.
yeah.
Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian military have been underestimated for a period of several years now. And ultimately, I'm convinced from my reflections in observing from an intelligence standpoint that they will fight with their bare hands if they have to, if they don't have terms that are acceptable to an enduring peace.
So this is a design for a 3D printed drone frame. The engines are mounted here. The drone motors are mounted here and here and here. What I can do is export these shapes into the slicer.
This film has absolute moral clarity. It does not both sides the war. It does not use neutral language. This is a film that says clearly who invaded whom, who is killing whom, and who is standing on their own land, fighting back, showing why Ukrainians will bleed for every meter. This film is not meant to comfort you. It's meant to arm you with clarity, with solidarity, and with the stubborn, spiky hope that democracies can still fight back and win.
We have to put Ukraine in a position of strength, that it has the means to fortify and protect itself.
I'm going to the war just because I want to protect my family now and my future family, my future children's.
It's basically turning Ukraine into a steel porcupine that is indigestible for potential invaders.